and welcome to Crime Bytes, the show where we talk about some truly bizarre and disturbing crime cases. My name is Liz, and today is True Crime Tuesday. So, gluttony. I don't know about you, but if you've seen the movie Seven and that big guy with his head in whatever the heck, Super SpaghettiOs, oh man, that probably scarred me a bit. But as a teenager, I was a little obsessed with that movie, clearly from the theme of this little series. But before we get into today's episode, we're going to pause for a quick promotion. I don't know about you, but for the longest time, I used to be extremely self-conscious about the color of my teeth. I used to have some stains that weren't the worst, but weren't making me feel my best either. Finally, about 2 years or so, I gave in and decided to try snow, and I am so glad I did. My teeth are so much brighter, which has given me the confidence to smile as wide as I want whenever I want. They're still so much brighter after the initial treatment, even 2 years later. And I just do touch-ups from literally the same starter kit every so often. And today I've got a deal for you. If you want to give them a try, go ahead and click the link in my description. They'll give you 25% off your first order. So if you're thinking about trying an affordable teeth whitening option that actually works, I strongly recommend Snow. I don't know if I can quite go as far to say they've changed my life, but I am smiling wider and brighter, and you can be too. Anyhow, let's get back to today's story. Today we are talking about gluttony. I wasn't quite sure where to go with this. I was thinking about buffets. And I didn't find anything too interesting straight away. There was a lot of people testing the limits of the all-you-can-eat places. Come on, guys. Then I was looking at people who ate so much it was a crime, and Armin Meiwes came up. That's for another time, though, because I'm not getting into that one today. But I don't think the motive for that one was gluttony, even if eating was involved. So I had to pull up the definition of gluttony to kind of direct myself, and the first one that I found, gluttony, was defined as excessive eating or drinking or greedy, excessive indulgence. Then I Googled the crime of gluttony, and this definition popped up. Gluttony is considered one of the 7 deadly sins in Christianity, as it is defined as an excessive desire to consume food, alcohol, or drugs beyond what is necessary. It can also include drunkenness. Gluttony is considered destructive because it can prevent people from reaching higher levels of meaning and purpose in their lives. Okay, that's deep, and we can go a few places with it. And then I did a few more searches. I didn't find anything about parents forcing their kids to eat too much, although I'm sure that's probably happened, and that would be an interesting topic. I decided to look at what might pop up for people committing obscene crimes after drinking too much. And that's how I found Gilbert Paul Jordan. And oh boy, this guy. What the? Let's meet Gilbert. Gilbert was born on December 12th of 1931 in Vancouver, British Columbia. I'm sorry, here's Gilbert. I don't know about you. But just looking at him makes me want to cover myself up. So I'm gonna. Ugh. Sorry, Gilbert. It's that feeling I get looking at your little face there, and sometimes when I get that feeling, I'm right. And in this case, I'm beyond right. Okay, we are sufficiently covered for now, I think. I don't think I have said that in some time, but yes. Anyone else get the vibe you don't want this man's eyes on you? He just gives me that vibe. And like I said, my instincts proved right, because just wait, Gilbert is one nasty boy. But I digress. Here's Gilbert, and let's start at the beginning with Gilbert. Gilbert's criminal record would begin in 1952, so when he was about 21, and it would become quite lengthy. Before we get to that, though, we're going to talk a little about school. Gilbert was described as sort of a loner. Some of the kids would tease him about his weight and his glasses. He was a little on the shorter side. So at about the age of 16, Gilbert decided to drop out of school, and beyond that, it's said that there's not that much that would really point to why he went down the path that he did. So when he's 16, he drops out of high school and he really gets into drinking. He's getting up to 50 ounces of vodka a day, and that's about one of those 1.5 milliliter bottles a day. So we're talking just full raging alcoholic mode all day, every day, from the time he was 16 years old. In 1952, Gilbert really starts growing his rap sheet with theft, assault, car theft, and heroin possession charges. Then we jump forward almost 10 years to 1961, and he is arrested for kidnapping a 5-year-old Aboriginal girl. Apparently, he lived in an area of Vancouver where there was a sizable population of Native people. A stay in these proceedings would kind of drop the issue for Gilbert, even if the girl was found in his car far from the reserve. Later that year, Gilbert would be trashed and climb up the Lionsgate Bridge and threaten to jump. He stopped traffic for quite a bit, and when he was brought in on these related charges, he decided to give the judge a full Nazi salute, and the judge wasn't amused, so he sentenced him to 6 months in jail for contempt of court. Then in 1963, Gilbert would pick up 2 women, and the trio would sit in his car and just get hammered together. When one of the women had to get out of the car to throw up because she was drinking too much, Gilbert sped off with her belongings and her friend in the car. He took her friend in the car to a second location and raped her. He would be charged with both rape and theft for this incident, and he would be convicted of the theft but acquitted of the rape. Because if there was one thing Gilbert loved as much as alcohol, it was sloppy drunk sex. Okay. It's like Gilbert and his sloppy drunk sex. No, thank you. Okay. And yes. The bear time. And it really didn't seem to matter to him if his drunken partner wanted it or not. Gilbert kind of learned that if you pick women no one cared about and get them trashed, you could pretty much get away with anything. And unfortunately, because he did basically, it was about to escalate even further. Gilbert would often frequent Vancouver's Skid Row, so to speak, looking for drinking buddies. So yes, you can see Gilbert is headed places, and not in a good way. One night in 1965, Gilbert would pick up a switchboard operator named Ivy Rose for a night of drinking and wild sex. The next morning, Ivy would not wake up, and Gilbert would call the police, who would respond and find her there dead. He would tell them what had happened, that they were drinking excessively and passed out, and when he woke up, he found her like that. She was determined to have died of alcohol poisoning, and her blood alcohol level was 0.51. Now, if you're unfamiliar with blood alcohol content, 0.08 is considered to be too impaired to drive a car. At 0.3, a normal person's body will shut down, or they'll pass out or black out and usually wake up with a huge hangover. This is maybe the body's way of trying to get you to stop poisoning yourself, because a 0.4 and higher is considered to be lethal. I have my own sad story of surviving a 0.4, but I woke up attached to a bunch of stuff in the hospital, and I can tell you firsthand, it's really not something to mess around with. So Gilbert would change his last name from Elsie to Jordan after this incident, and from there he would just keep on going on like he was, and soon he would start up a new rap sheet for his new name. They would include some drunk driving charges. In 1969, he actually got 2 of these charges in one day. And then he had a few indecent exposure charges, one in 71, one in 73. Then in 74, he had escalated to indecent assault. He would be convicted of this, and at this point, the Crown attempted to give him a dangerous offender status, which would really serve to keep him locked away. This request was unfortunately denied because in 1975, he was back on the streets, and this time, he would just straight up abduct and assault a woman from a nearby mental institution. This time, he would be charged with kidnapping as well as sexual intercourse with a feeble-minded person. He would receive 3 years for this one. During his time in prison, he would learn how to be a barber, and when he got out, he would actually be able to open his own barber shop, and we'll get back to that. On November 30th of 1980, Mary Johnson would be drinking with Gilbert at the Almere Hotel. She would not wake up the next morning, much like Ivy Rose 15 years earlier. Her blood alcohol level was a 0.34, and her death was ruled accidental as a result of alcohol poisoning. Then about a year later, on September 11th of 1981, Barbara Paul would be pronounced dead with a blood alcohol level of 0.41. She was also drinking with Gilbert the night before. And because it was obvious that she had died of alcohol poisoning, her death was also ruled as accidental. Then on July 30th of 1982, Mary Johns would die in Gilbert's barbershop with a blood alcohol level of 0.76. Her death was ruled as accidental alcohol poisoning as well. This was the 4th woman to die from alcohol poisoning with Gilbert. But because of his lifestyle and how forthcoming he was about it, they really believed, or let themselves be convinced at least, that his drinking partners were just getting out of hand with him. 2 more women would face the same fate in his barbershop. Patricia Thomas would have a blood alcohol level of 0.51 on December 15th of 1984, and Patricia Andrew would have a blood alcohol level of 0.79 on June 28th of 1985. Then he would report a 7th death from the Clifton Hotel. On November 19th of 1986, Vera Harry was reported dead at this hotel after a night of drinking with Gilbert. Her death was also reported as accidental death due to alcohol poisoning, except her blood alcohol level was only a 0.04. But because this had happened so many times before, it was just kind of accepted that this is what happened. This makes no sense at all to me, but apparently that's what happened, and for the sake of the case, let's just keep going. On October 12th of 1987, Vanessa Lee Buckner was found dead after drinking with Gilbert, and this would finally start an investigation as to why so many people were dying around Gilbert. How Vanessa is described depends on who you would ask, but she was described as not a heavy drinker or a prostitute. Other sources would describe her as an alcoholic and drug addict who had recently lost custody of her new baby. Either way, she is a person who would end up dying of alcohol poisoning in the company of Gilbert, and because at least some of the people close to her just couldn't believe this, they pushed the issue, and so the police would finally start keeping tabs on Gilbert. They knew women were dying around him, but were these really accidents? From October 12th to November 26th of 1987, the police would rescue 4 different women from Gilbert in various scenarios. They were all at hotels, and 2 of them had blood alcohol levels of 0.43 and 0.52. So it's almost a miracle that they did survive. But while they were kind of performing the sting, they were listening to Gilbert's interactions with these women. One time when they were standing outside of his hotel room, listening to see if they had to intervene, they heard him saying, "Have a drink, down the hatch, baby. $20 if you drink it right down. See if you're a real woman. Finish that drink. Finish that drink. Down the hatch. Hurry, right down. You need another drink. I'll give you $50 if you can take it. I'll give you $10, $20, $50. Whatever you want. Come on. I want to see you get it all down. You get it right down, I'll give you another You get it right down, I'll give you the $50 and the $13. I'll give you the $50. I told you that. If you finish that, I'll give you $75. Finish your drink, I'll give you $20. So he was basically bribing these women to drink themselves to death. And it's not like he could deny it with the body count that was piling up. Can you imagine that though? They're like following around deciding if they needed to rescue these women by like pressing their ears up to the hotel rooms. That's just wild. And they did rescue 4 women, like burst in and rescue. And then the last time they attempted to intervene, they busted in on him and he was literally pouring alcohol down the throat of a woman who was already passed out. Pouring it down her throat. And that would explain how these women ended up with just these astronomically high blood alcohol levels. So with this evidence, he would be tried for Vanessa Lee Bunkner's murder. And he would be tried before a judge who would find him guilty of manslaughter. At his trial, he would comment that they were all on their last legs. I didn't give a damn who I was with. I mean, we're all dying sooner or later. He would receive a 15-year sentence that would be reduced to 9 years with an appeal, and he would be released after only serving 6 years. He would be placed on probation, and he was restricted to Vancouver Island and was not supposed to be in the presence of women with alcohol. Then in 2000, he gets charged with another sexual assault, and ready for it? Negligence causing bodily harm and administering a noxious substance. That would be alcohol. Gilbert clearly did not learn his lesson. In fact, instead of trying to change his ways, he tried to change his name again to Paul Pierce. But after British Columbia made it a requirement to undergo fingerprinting and a background check to change your name, he dropped the application. He would serve another 15 months in jail after he violated probation again in 2002 when he was found drinking with another woman. Then on August 11th of 2004, he was arrested yet again in Winnipeg when he violated his probation yet again by binge drinking with another woman at a hotel. A hotel employee intervened and got Barb Berkeley help, and she survived, fortunately. Unfortunately, Gilbert was acquitted of these charges in 2005. The police were sick of messing around, though, and they issued the following public warning. Gilbert Paul, age 73, is the subject of this alert. Jordan is 175 centimeters or 5 feet 9 inches tall and weighs 79 kilograms or 174 pounds. He is partially bald with gray hair and a gray goatee. He has blue eyes and wears glasses. Jordan is currently in the Victoria area but has no fixed address. Jordan has a significant criminal record, including manslaughter and indecent assault of a female. He uses alcohol to lure his victims. Jordan's target victim group is adult females. Jordan is subject to court-ordered conditions, including abstain absolutely from the consumption of alcohol, not to be in the company of any female person or persons in any place where alcohol is being either consumed or possessed by that person or persons. If you observe the subject in violation of any of the above conditions, please call the Cyanic Police Department at a number 911 or your local police agency. If you have any questions concerning the public notification process, please contact the BC Corrections Branch at a number. So they were not messing around. And then in 2006, Gilbert would pass away. And how, you ask? Drumroll, please. Cirrhosis of the liver. Finally, karma, finally. Gilbert is the first known Canadian to use alcohol as a murder weapon, which could prove to be an interesting topic. Ooh, the icicle riddle. They're right though, because alcohol really kind of could be. I'm going to have to go back and read that one, but it doesn't seem like people do it a lot, or at least get caught for doing it. It might be more common than you think, because so many people die of alcohol poisoning. I mean, how easy would it be, especially in some of these domestic cases? Yeah, I'm gonna shift gears here. That's going to do it for today. But as always, let's end things on a more positive note. This case had me bugging around for so many reasons, but I did try to collect a positive thought when reflecting about it. I think the issue of marginalized people groups being overlooked as victims by law enforcement was clearly demonstrated in this case. It was really hard to research and then read the list just piling up, and these victims ultimately never receiving any real justice because it was perceived that they kind of brought this on themselves somehow. I would like to think that now Gilbert wouldn't have such a long run and that we've improved overall. But I'm not completely positive. Maybe it would depend where he lives, or, you know. I do think that there has been more light shed to overlooked victims and victim blaming. At least the majority of us are trying there and seeing that there's issues there. I'd like to think so, at least. Let me know what you think about this one, guys. I'm still just, wow. I'm reeling. So next week we'll be back with the nasty green envy. We'll see you then, and until next week, please stay safe out there. Bye.